Hello and welcome to another episode. We only did 2 last week. That is my bad. I was very busy with quite a few things and I did not prioritize this. I admit that. So this week I'm going to try and catch up on what I missed and what I didn't get to talk about last week. So, hello. If you don't know who I am, my name is Isaac Wellhausen. This is Vanlife in NYC with Isaac. As you can see, I've done some calligraphy. I believe that's what it's called. At least that's as close as I'm going to get to doing anything interesting. That's the best handwriting you're ever going to get out of me. I tried very hard. And I've put up some pictures since last time people have seen. I think I figured out how to do the parking over here where I'm at. So I have switched sides of the road a few times now, which is super crazy. So I'm just kind of reading the signs, seeing what day I need to move and doing it the day before. So that way, whenever I can, I don't have to wake up and spend my time waiting around in my van for the patrol car to go by. So, needless to say, I have figured out that little bit of the sleeping situation, which is something we talked about in the last podcast, episode, whatever this is. So that's been great. And also just I've kind of really settled into the pattern of the New York life. At least I think I'm settling. Let me move this bad boy around a bit. I think that I've figured out how to go about doing what I'm doing. Obviously, I'm still not working. I'm just taking a bunch of classes. Like today, I had a callback at 11 for a show. It's for Repertory Theater, Rocky Mountain Repertory Theater. I think I've had some friends who have worked there. If you have, please let me know. I think a few people that I'm going to reach out to based on Jeff and Michael, who were the people in the room, told me like, oh yeah, we have tons of Ball Staters, chirp, chirp, who have come through. Which is kind of crazy because it's fun to see that my school is finally making a name for itself here in New York, and people are recognizing my BFA more and more on my resume. Needless to say, I went to this callback. They had me prepare 2 snippets of songs, so like 2 minutes of music, and like 8 sides. And I really, really, really would love to do Shakespeare, like be Shakespeare, not do Shakespeare. And I really kind of amped up that stuff for the music. And so I did it once and he was like, hey, can you try it this way? I did it that way without anything in my hands, did it completely memorized. And he was like, wow, we gave you one little note and you turned it into so much. And he's like, I wish that we could see you unleashed. I was like, that would be great. That's up to you, I think. So this would technically be my first equity contract if I got it, because they work on a smaller, it's called an SPT contract, which is small professional theater. So they give you a rate, and the repertory theater, the way that this works, just in case, I'll move back to what I'm talking about, but repertory theater is like you do a certain number of shows in rep. So one night you're doing this show, the next night you're doing a completely different show, the next night you're doing a completely different show. So everything has to be pretty condensed, but also you have to be able to play a wide variety of characters. So this would be a good way to work on versatility, which a lot of people don't necessarily get to work on, especially when you're doing one show for so long. But Something Rotten is something that I've really wanted to do for a long time. As much as I've never seen it, I've just listened to the music over and over again, and I know I'm a Shakespeare, but they had me read for Nick as well. And I think I did fairly well. I was in my 15-minute audition for a half an hour, so it was fun. We started talking about this, that like living in the van and what that's like, and this is a cool little theater out in Colorado. Needless to say, do I want to be out of the city for several months after I'm just getting here? Probably not. But yes, then the name of this podcast would have to change. Just kidding. We'll make it work. And then I went to a tap class after that because one of the things they asked me in the room was, are you a tapper? And I said, I am in class. And I think that's okay to admit, because a lot of people feel like they have to be one particular thing and have to, BS their way through something. And I was like, I'm in class. If there's something you want me to send, I can send it to you in a few days. Just let me work on it, because I'm just now getting back into my tap routine, and I've taken 3 classes since I've been here, which is great. I'm on my, 3rd week since I've been here, and trying to be better about it. I know that that's not my forte, but the more I practice, the more I can be dedicated to that as an art form and dance form. So needless to say, I'm getting there slowly and surely. This week is going to be crazy, and that's why I wanted to talk about it in pieces. So I had 2 callbacks already set up this week, as well as I have a meeting with an agency, which is going to be my first time since Georgia. I was with a not so great casting agency in Atlanta. I got rid of them. Essentially, they put me on a 1-year contract that was supposed to be 2 years, but I left early because they were not putting me in for anything. They were literally just giving me like these basic things. So, like, it wasn't like they were trying to have my best interests forward. And I have Helen Wells Agency back in Indianapolis. I don't really use them or put them on my resume because it confuses people, because they're like, oh, well, you're in Indianapolis and you already have an agent. And I'm like, no, I haven't done anything for Helen Wells in a long time. And I mean, the only thing I really submit for them or through them anyway is voiceover. So this agency is referred to me by a friend, and I'll tell you more once I have the meeting. But they asked me to bring in my full rep book, my headshot resume, and I guess what I'm going to try and prep for myself to be because what you're doing when you're meeting these agents is, it's not so much what they can do for you, but also what you can do for them. So I'm going to work on learning how to sell who I am and what I am. Because there are not many 28-year-olds that are bald and hairy and look and do what I do or sound like I do. So I'm trying to find a way to sell that to these people in the room, because I'm absolutely certain they do not have someone like me on their roster. At least my age, my type, my everything. So that's what I'm going to try and go in there, because every time I walk into a room right now for these callbacks, I'm the right age, but I'm the only bald person. And it cracks me up, because I don't know why that's just not as common. I mean, I just know that they usually go for a certain look, and sometimes people hear and see my stuff and they're like, wait, this could work, but they just have a hard time imagining it. So I'm going to be cultivating that. I am going to be uniquely and authentically myself. And that's what I'm going to sell. And hopefully it works well in the room, because no promises, obviously, but we'll see how that goes. On Friday is the second callback. It's for Oceana, and I believe it's through Norwegian Cruise Line. It's for this, I don't know what the show is necessarily. I'm sure I could find it online if I had to. But they want me to sing a Queen song, so I'm going to sing a Queen song and skrelt at 10 a.m. in the morning and see how that goes. One big thing I wanted to talk about today, or just in general. So I got really, really, really sick when I was on the cruise ship. In terms of, for me, sick is like a few days, which most people are like, oh, I was sick for a week or two. I'm like, that never happens to me. I get sick for 3 days. That's not okay. I had a fever, all of this stuff. And my voice was completely ruined. I had white kind of nodules or whatever all up and down my throat. It was some form of laryngitis or something. And I still had to sing 3 or 4 days after that. And I was just struggling. I was working so hard, and I couldn't phonate and create the noise that I really wanted to create. So it became more of a problem than I had admitted to myself. And I think I kind of gave up on the technique of things. And that's the one thing about performing, as much as I have, is that you often just start relying on your instincts more than your technique, because the technique is always there, right? But sometimes it falls to the wayside when you're learning and developing new styles. So for me, I was singing a bunch on the cruise ship and higher than I normally do, singing rock and different styles, but I wasn't always warming up in an appropriate way. And I think with that paired with the sickness, my voice just has not been the same. So every time I've been singing for the last week, I'm doing a 25-minute warm-up, which is kind of excessive as a person who sings a lot. I shouldn't have to do that as much, but it's making a big difference in my quality, because there is a part of my voice that just creaks. It doesn't hurt when I sing up there. It just, something happened. It's still inflamed. I know I need to get scoped, but health insurance is a thing and money is a thing.